If you're thinking about adding strength to your yoga practice, but you haven't started yet, it's probably because you have unanswered questions. I get 3 questions every time a student or client is at the edge of starting strength training. It's never a lack of desire that's stopping them. It's what I call the beginning problem. You're in uncharted territory, so there's a lot of resistance. You need someone to clear a path so you can get started. In this episode, we'll clear that path by answering the 3 most common questions. First question that most people have is actually presented as a statement. They blurt out, "I don't want to hurt myself." I understand because I've been there too. I failed strength training multiple times because each time I attempted it, it felt risky, like I was on the verge of injury. That experience is very common for women over 40. If you've practiced yoga for several years or several decades like me, it's exponentially more true because yoga has a flexibility bias. Even things that look like they have strength, like arm balancing, puts parts of your body in places of extreme flexibility, like your wrists or your hips. And with the hormonal changes that come in midlife, most women experience more joint laxity because of the decline in muscle mass. So this question and concern about how to stay safe is very, very valid. Here's what worked for me and my students and clients. Number 1, begin with bands. Especially if you spent years doing yoga, bands are an easy way to weave strength into your existing practice. Plus, they'll build confidence, retrain your alignment for more stability, and activate all of those important stabilizers around your joints. Next, develop an unshakable core. If you've practiced yoga for years, you've probably done a lot of back bends, and back bends promote pushing the ribs forward and lifting the chest up. You've probably also done a lot of forward bends and stretching your hamstrings. With long, loose hamstrings, your butt tends to swing back. And when your ribs are forward and your butt is back, your respiratory diaphragm and pelvic floor diaphragm are not aligned. So they can't talk and they can't generate intra-abdominal pressure. And intra-abdominal pressure is what gives you that sense of a steady, strong center. And a steady, strong center allows for force, weight, load to be distributed evenly through your body. Without that, it feels like adding load, adding weight puts stress and strain on vulnerable areas of your body. It may be your neck or your shoulders or your low back or SI joint or your knee. This is simply information that you need to work on your core. And an unshakable core has 2 parts. Number 1 is generating intra-abdominal pressure. For that, you need breathing that is driven by your diaphragm, and you need the diaphragm and the pelvic floor stacked. To get the diaphragm and the pelvic floor stacked, you've got to pull your ribs in and back and anchor your pelvis. Your hamstrings are a major player for anchoring your pelvis. So most long-term yogis need to do a tremendous amount of hamstring strengthening to counterbalance the years or decades of stretching. To get the ribs back, most long-term yogis need to activate serratus anterior and work on latissimus dorsi. These muscles can be completely absent in a yoga practice. So you begin with bands to build confidence, retrain your alignment, and activate your stabilizers. The bands will help rein everything in so you can train an unshakable core. Your unshakable core will depend on your ability to get your ribs and your pelvis stacked. As you start to do that, you might notice that some parts of your body are resisting. It's like there are twists and turns and pulls in your webbing. This is why I recommend a perfect warm-up. A perfect warm-up includes myofascial release and or somatic release to work on smoothing out the connective tissue of your body. Your connective tissue has patterns and it can pull your body right back into old habits unless you do something different. It's easier to do something different when you work out your webbing first. When you smooth out the connective tissue force, weight, load is less likely to go into those vulnerable pockets of your body. A perfect warm-up also resets your nervous system. So instead of guarding, bracing, white knuckling it through whatever you're doing, your body is open, receptive, absorbing, and assimilating. With your nervous system in that state, it's easier to listen to your body, stay connected, and create change. So if you're like me and strength training has brought up this fear of injury, that is the intelligence of your body. It's telling you you need to approach this differently. And what's worked for me, my students, and clients is beginning with bands, building an unshakable core, and doing a perfect warm-up regularly. That fear of injury is your body seeking safety. Use this formula to give your body the safety it is seeking. If you want to try these for yourself, check out an Asana Strong practice. And if you want to learn about each of the parts, watch the Asana Strong formula episode. Question number 2 is, what weights do I use? The size and the type of weight is all about load. There's science behind this, and once you understand it, there are infinite ways to challenge yourself and grow, especially if you're training at home. The easy answer is start with weights that are right for you right now and have weights that you can grow into. Because the key to building muscle and bone is progressive overload. And that word can sound intimidating or complicated, but it just means challenge yourself in a way that you can keep going and growing. Most people will get tripped up with the more is better or all or nothing thinking. Especially if you grew up in the 80s and 90s like me, you were raised on a steady stream of no pain, no gain. And women got an extra dose of poison with the eat less, exercise more mantra. So we tend to bring that to strength training. But more weight, more reps, more effort does not mean more results. Especially for women in midlife, consistency is queen. And recovery is your gold standard for how you're doing. Staying in the game and feeling empowered and energized by what you're doing is infinitely better than going hard, getting injured, starting to hate it, and then stopping doing it for long periods of time. Sounds a little silly when I say it, but those subconscious patterns will sabotage getting started and progressing in a way that's meaningful and sustainable. Because progressive overload means small, consistent improvement over a long period of time. Most studies on bone density and muscle growth require participants to train regularly for 8 months to a year. And like our earlier question on injury, those studies have participants build strategically. So when you're choosing weights, more is not better. And that takes us into rep ranges. If you're hearing about strength training, you're probably hearing people say lift heavy. But heavy is relative to you. Heavy generally means you can do about 3 to 5 reps. Studies show this is where you build the most strength, but it's also higher risk and you need to know what you're doing. You need to be able to do the repetitions with good form, good alignment. And a good way to gauge your alignment is that you have 1 to 2 reps in reserve. You could do 1 or 2 more with good alignment. This is especially true when you're beginning because you'll still be figuring out the language of your body when strength training. For example, with my body, I've learned if superficial muscles start to activate, the front of my throat gets tense, my traps crawl up towards my ears, my lower back starts to grip and grab, that I am out of good alignment. I've lost my core, I've lost my connection. So those compensating patterns are starting to kick in. And if I keep going, I'm going to be in trouble. So the 1 to 2 reps in reserve help you find that line of how much is too much. And while 3 to 5 reps is considered heavy, 8 to 12 reps is considered moderate load. And this is actually where we see the most muscle growth. It's also where people tend to feel the most comfortable, the most confident. If the weight is light enough that you can do more than 12 reps, You're in the realm of cardio and conditioning, but you can use this for control, for confidence, for learning, for training. But whatever rep range you're in, it's at the end when you feel like the weight is pushing back against you, when you're at the edge of your alignment, that the body is stimulated in a way that will trigger muscle and bone to grow. Use these rep ranges to understand what heavy, moderate, and light means. And in the beginning, be abundantly cautious. Learn the territory, learn the movements, learn the signals coming from your body. So with weights, get started with what you have. Choose things that don't scare you. Resist the more is better, all or nothing thinking. Use the rep ranges to gauge your effort and know when it's time to increase load. And remember, there are many ways to increase load. One of the easiest is speed and tempo. Fun things to play with are how you're holding the weight and your relationship to gravity. Whatever you do, however you train, remember consistency is queen and your recovery tells you about sustainability. The last question that comes up is working out at home enough? Am I missing something by not going to the gym? I'm going to answer this by telling you what I do first. I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week because it is not my home. I can focus, get things done quickly and efficiently, and the machines help me lift heavier than dumbbells or kettlebells alone. But in the beginning, I was just working out at home. I had a long on-ramp before I ever set foot in the gym. And that on-ramp was just resistance bands in the beginning and lots of core work. And then eventually dumbbells that challenged me but didn't scare me. Eventually, I went to the gym, but only after I had confidence in my body. I retrained my alignment, especially for my core, and I wasn't as wiggly and wobbly from all the years of yoga. And the bands had really built up my stabilizer, so I was less likely to go into my joints. And even when I go to the gym, I use the Asana Strong formula. I do a perfect warm-up and some core work at home, and then I do supersets and machines based on planes of connective tissue. So even the gym can have that yoga flow feel. So I recommend starting at home, and whether you go to the gym or not, home training is real, and something is always better than nothing. Again, that all or nothing thinking will keep you stuck and doing nothing, which chips away at your identity, your agency, and autonomy. The other thing to remember with working out at home is, what are your goals? Students and clients who do Asana Strong with me are not looking to get jacked. They don't want to be bodybuilders. They're lifting to get out of pain, maintain mobility and freedom as they age. And for those goals, working out at home is more than enough. If you want to get jacked, if you want to get big and bulky, you probably need to go to the gym. But if you want to preserve muscle, strengthen your bones, not get frail and feeble, Asana Strong is perfect. This formula, this system was built just for that. And if you want help getting started, schedule a strength audit. You'll get to speak to me personally about your practice, what you're seeing, what you think you're lacking, and I will make recommendations for weaving strength into what you're currently doing. So now you have real answers to the 3 questions that keep people from getting started. The fear of injury is real. It's your body seeking safety. Use the formula that's worked for me and dozens of students and clients. Begin with bands, build an unshakable core, and release your connective tissue regularly. What weights to use depends on you. Resist the more is better, all or nothing thinking. Use the rep ranges to gauge your effort and intensity. Increase weight when necessary, and add load in different ways. And is working out at home enough? Yes. If your goals are to stay out of pain, maintain your mobility and freedom as you age, working out at home is more than enough. Now it's time to get started. You can play with one of the Asana Strong practices here on YouTube. Get the Asana Strong starter kit in the 20-Minute Miracles app, or if you want to speak with me directly, schedule a strength audit. Thank you for watching. See you soon.